How's it going, everybody, and welcome to How Good Is It Really? My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Luke.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 4, Episode 5, The Nina Project of Stranger Things. Okay, so this episode was, I don't want to say a filler episode, because it wasn't, but it's a lot of setup. Not a whole lot really happens.
A lot of happens that nothing happens.
Yeah, it's over an hour and 15 minutes this episode, and not a whole lot happens, but a lot of moving pieces kind of setting up for things that will happen going forward. So there's not there's not a whole lot of major things that happen in this episode. Overall, the story aspect of it, I don't know. It's not boring, but it drags
Certainly
a little bit.
Certainly a lull based off the previous episode where there was a lot of explosive energy that happened in that
And that
episode.
might be intentional.
Probably.
Given that most people are binging this.
Yeah, so it's like,
need a little valley coming off that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a palate cleanser from the previous, just high octane episode where just so much happened. My goodness, so much happened.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened in episode 5. Still maybe my favorite episode.
It's really freaking good.
Yeah, we'll see by the time we actually get to the end of the series.
5 is as good, in my opinion, as the fair episode in Stranger Things Season 3.
Is that episode 8?
Yeah, where Hopper is fighting,
he's fighting Russian Terminator in the funhouse.
Yeah, and he's got the Magnum PI vibes, and Joyce kicks Carrie Yule's character.
Well, punches and kicks him. Yeah.
Yeah. Really good episode. Anyway.
Yeah, just gives it to the mayor. Where's the mayor?
Yeah. Where is he? Oh, I don't know. Did he get arrested?
He did. He got. That's why.
Okay.
Where is? Yeah, he got arrested at the end of season 3. That's why he's not around.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for accepting bribes and colluding with Russia.
Yeah. All, classic 80s stuff.
Yeah. Actual Russian collusion. The real deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so going off of episode 6, though, of season 5, excuse me. 5 of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this one's just not a lot happens. It's just not as intense. A lot of setup, though, for episode 6.
So it's all good baseline for Stranger Things, where it's it's all really good.
It does have a climactic ending, though.
It does. It does have a few high spots that it hits throughout the episode, because there are certainly things that happen that are very important going forward.
Very much so.
But overall, as we were talking beforehand, we'll just talk about the episode and give a recommendation, just based on it's overall I enjoyed it. If I recommend you watch it, well, of course you're going to watch it. You've watched the previous ones.
Yeah.
You're going to probably watch them all
but
already.
As it sits in the series, it's,
right.
filler.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as it's very filler oriented. That sounds negative, but I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just
by nature of what it is. It's
the way
television.
it is.
It's just how it is. We expect it.
And
it's not bad. It's
there's
good.
Not a whole lot by far, because we have these different storylines that are going on right now, with the kids in Hawkins, with the kids in California, at this point with Elle.
Pacing
going
of all
off
three
with
storylines
Owens
is so good.
And
by
the
way.
stuff with Yuri, with Murray and Joyce and Yuri up in Alaska, heading into Russia. They're juggling a lot of storylines. And they're doing it very well.
Yeah, they handled it really well. It doesn't lag and give too much to one or the other. It's got some really good.
I really noticed that watching this episode. After the fact, I'm recounting everything that happens. You know what?
Shoot, that was impressive.
Not a whole lot happens, but they jump around enough. This is wonderful editing, because the editing keeps the pace of the episode going. I guess is a good way of kind of saying it, because when you break it down into just what's happening at all these different points, there's not a lot going on. There's none of it's exceptionally interesting or that impactful to the story.
Right.
But if you take something that's uninteresting, you can edit it in such a way that it becomes interesting, especially when you're cutting it along different storylines that are going on. And I think this episode probably shines the most from that aspect, at least for me. In retrospect, having watched it a couple times now, it's the editing is just on point to be able to keep you engaged in these storylines enough an episode
Agreed.
where not a whole lot happens, especially when you break it down by storyline. I was like, man, nothing really happened in this episode, but it was interesting. You know what I mean?
That's pretty much, that's exactly how I would put it. And
So yeah, overall favorable for sure. We're gonna do things a little bit differently in this episode going forward. Just try them differently.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna basically just talk about the movie or show, whatever it is, like we beforehand for 5-10 minutes, non-spoiler section. But we're not gonna review anything. We're going to save our actual final reviews till the end of the spoiler section.
just trying different
when we're
formulas to
actually
see how it's going to work
talk
best for
about it.
us.
Yeah.
And we find that people, the average engagement of the episodes is it's pretty low for the beginning, and I think that's just because we talk too much about just static numbers, not enough about the actual content. So we're going to try to change that a little bit. So
Well, yeah, I mean, it'll change it a little bit, what we're talking about. But also, we're just going to be getting to
the good stuff a little earlier.
Yeah, getting to the good stuff a little earlier.
That should help engagement a little bit.
The goal, just try and figure out what's going to work best for us. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about non-spoiler other than just it was a good episode. A little filler. It was the general vibe, but overall, not mad at it. Do you agree?
No, I liked it.
Yeah.
I like everything about Stranger Things.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the spoiler section now then. And
Cool.
we can actually talk
Jump into
about
it. Let's go.
all the stuff that we want to
The
talk about. Whatever's
nitty-gritty.
the nitty-gritty stuff. Well, what do you want to jump into first?
Let's go with Joyce and Murray because
Okay.
I'm very quickly becoming an uber fan of Murray.
Yeah.
He between season 2 to now, the guy's character has just really come so far and is really just amazingly acted. Amazing energy, such good chemistry with Winona Ryder's character, and in the plane sequence that we get, because it's a very small set for where they're filmed in. The majority of all of their scenes in this episode take place in the plane. They are
The majority, because when we first meet them, they're still at the airbase.
Yeah, Yuri's little airport hangar thing.
Yeah, but then they take off. The majority of it does take place inside the airplane. So
Right.
very small space to be working in, at least from our perspective.
Pretty impressive, I would say, just from the limited space it looks like. Obviously, there's cutaways in the plane fuselage because there's no way to film that.
Sure,
the way
yeah,
that they did it, but still though, really, really cool the way it was done. I really enjoyed this sequence. Go for it.
Well, I was just thinking Joyce and Murray's, when he's talking about, he's a black belt in karate now, so that's how he's going to get away. Yeah. But then,
his fight,
his sparring match that he's had, it's with this 15-year-old kid.
Yeah, but he was really good though.
Yeah, he was really good though. Before that, it's so their children. There's nobody under 13. They're all over the age of 13 or something like that. It's oh man, but yeah. His one fight, one sparring match that he had with a 15-year-old.
And you think it's going to go really bad, but Murray actually pulls it off.
He does good.
He's got some moves, man. It's really cool. Especially his his dialogue that is hype as he gives himself as they're fighting.
Yeah,
so good, so funny.
I forget exactly what he says, but that whole sequence is just over the top enough. Without going too far.
Yeah.
Without going too far, just
for as serious as it is,
I believe that this character would do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much Karate Kid vibes all the way. And really, really enjoyable to watch. Just, again, kudos to the actors, man. They have they're having such amazing talent.
Especially this sequence, it was clear everybody was having a ball.
Oh, yeah, they were having a great
for
time.
Sure.
A great time. It was really entertaining to watch, and it was obvious that the actors are enjoying themselves. And I think that's part of what sells good TV is when actors
it certainly can be a factor
when they don't hate each other, obviously, but also because that seems to be a running thing in television. It's actors that just hate each other. It's constantly being cast in the same.
Yeah, not too often, but certainly
more than movies. You don't have A-list actors that hate each other's guts typically being cast in the same film. It does happen.
Not as common as not, but it does happen.
But TV seems to be much more common for that. But anyway,
sure.
They clearly had good chemistry, and they enjoy working together. And it's obvious because they sell a great product. And they sell a great product because they believe in it, but also because they're just good at it.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, not a whole lot happens with Murray
That's it, yeah.
and Joyce.
He
Murray,
kicks Yuri's butt, knocks him out, and
he wasn't supposed to knock him out because
Yeah.
now nobody can fly the plane. So he just crashed the plane.
Joyce is, Murray's like just ecstatic that he like won a real world fight. You know,
You were supposed to knock him out.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I can say, as somebody that did martial arts for a while, it's pretty. When you win a fight, it's nice. It feels really good. So he's just like, I felt for him in that moment where he's like, I did it, and then Joyce is just like, you idiot, you knocked him out. Like, who's gonna fly the plane? So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's pretty much for them.
They're, of course, headed off to see Hopper, and Hopper got arrested because Yuri betrayed everybody last episode, so he got arrested at the church with all of Yuri's
Just trying
contraband.
to enjoy some peanut butter.
Hey, man, he's just trying to relax, eating some good old Jif. Like, come on. Just let a dude relax, man. But yeah, so he's back in prison, and Antonov, the guard, is there as well. Because
This time
Yuri
not
sold all of them
Kamchatka.
out.
They got sent to like
No.
death camp.
Same place.
Is it the
Same
same
place.
place? It
You
can't
mentioned this
be.
last time, and no, it's the same place.
Oh man.
They are still in Kamchatka.
I thought he
They're
sent
in the
him to a
exact
different
same
place.
Nope.
Oh man, I thought he like told him like the guy's like, you're not going back to work detail. Like we're sending you to like someplace else.
He does say that,
Okay, maybe
but
I
he
just
doesn't act. But he doesn't
misread it.
actually send them somewhere else because
It's
the
just
guy
a
that says
different
it,
part of the prison.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the work camp, but then they have a separate part,
That's
like
just
the
for
main
killing
courtyard
people.
that's in the prison as a whole is what they use.
For executions.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what he's talking about.
Okay. And then that is a great segue into Hopper and Antonov's
Yeah.
story, which is them talking and nothing else.
Yeah. Like, technically, like, we see Hopper get beat up a little bit because they're, like, beating him, and then the general dude tells the guys to stop because that's where he tells them, like, we're not going to kill you. We have other plans for you, you know, basically, kind of thing. And then, yeah, it's Hopper and Antonov and other guards that are, not guards, other prisoners
Death
that
row.
are being held for execution, basically. And all they fight for a little bit, and then they talk a lot. And we cut back to them a couple more times, and they're just talking.
Yeah.
Like, which is, like, the stuff in Russia is the least interesting portion that's going on right now. And I think we mentioned that last time, where by the time something actually starts kicking off in Russia in last episode with him escaping and they're getting caught again, it's like, that didn't happen soon enough because the stuff in Russia is just dragging a little too much.
At
least for me.
It
And
is
it's still
definitely
kind of in that
dragging.
mode where, okay, something happened, he escaped, oh man, he got caught, now he's
it's kind
back.
of a letdown because in season 3, like we saw Hopper really come into his own as being a much more active force in the world that he was in, where before he was a bit reactive, less proactive. No, he
Sure.
was certainly a centerpiece of everything that happened.
In season 3, he was much more proactive.
Yes, but he was a much more active force in doing a thing, and less just kind of being dragged into it because Joyce is, you know, blowing up the phones at the police department or, you know, acting crazy,
Yeah.
you know, and hanging Christmas lights in her house, trying to communicate with her son from another dimension. But
You know, normal stuff.
yeah, normal stuff for Stranger Things. And season 4, really, the energy for Hopper just like really took a lull.
Well, and I get it.
I do.
Because that's like
That's the
where
whole
they're at in
point.
the story. Like,
But
he's
still,
in prison.
though,
He's not going to do a whole lot, and I get it.
It's
just
still
kind of
though,
boring.
Yeah, it really is. It's
And yeah,
the low
he has
point.
the whole heart-to-heart with Antonov, and he's talking about, you know, his previous marriage didn't last, and Sarah, his daughter, that ended up dying, and, like, you know, all this, and basically, you know,
some
having-
motivations and some, you know, heart to heart between two guys that have nothing in common except for the fact that they're both, you know, terrible fathers
And-
trying to do better.
Yeah, and they're probably going to die soon.
Yeah,
But that's basically all that happened with Hopper, and it's, you know, again, the stuff in Russia, the least favorite, that's what drags the most, and it's a little boring.
a little bit. And that's pretty much it for them. Let's go to the van crew.
Yeah, so this is where we actually open up with this episode, is because end of last episode, Mustache Agent Man got shot.
Yep.
So we open up in episode 5 with them still running away and
Argyle's
dude
still
dying in the
screaming.
back of the van.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't remember the guy's name, but Mustache Agent Man.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, dies. He does tell the kids before he dies that Nina
Yeah.
is what they need to get a hold of, or
Yep.
like that's the project that Elle is at. Like they need to find that, and he gives them a pen, for the number. They try and
They think he's going
they
to write
think he's
something
going to
down.
wite it so that it all goes over their head, and
And
they
the
figure it
dude,
out later
dies.
when they because Argyle's trying to write with the pen. Because he's trying to write a headstone for Mustache Agent Man.
Yeah.
And
while putting all their names on it.
Yeah.
At the same time, which that leads to some pretty funny conversation between
Yeah.
Jonathan and Argyle. To which Will figures
Will
out.
and Argyle's freak out before that about them burying a dead body.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of the desert, and none of this is okay.
Yeah.
So Jonathan's just dude, just go back and smoke some more weed.
Yeah.
Go smoke a blunt. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And Will finally figures out that the pen was the whole point of what the guy was trying to give them. It wasn't to
the
write
number
with.
is in
It's
a paper inside
Yeah.
the pen.
Is a fake pen. And so they discovered that. They try to call that phone number, and they get a dial tone.
Yes.
Which is, for those of you who grew up early enough to know what dial tone is, you know how far the internet has come. For those of you that are a little too young for that, dial tone was the sound that your telephone would make when the internet was being dialed through your telephone provider. That's how it used to work. Your Cat5 cable would run through your phone and then would run into your computer, and if somebody picked up the phone while you were on the internet, it would die.
Yep.
And it was really frustrating, as my father can attest to on multiple occasions. But anyway, that's what they hear when they call the number. So they
think that they're calling not an actual landline, they're calling a computer or machine somewhere.
Who is it that figures out that it's not a phone number, that it's a dial tone for a computer
I think
that they're
it's
trying to call?
I think it's Will and Mike, because Mike's the one that calls the number.
Yeah.
And then asks Will, somewhat rhetorically, but what does it sound like to you? And Will replies, War Games.
Right, okay, yeah. No.
That was what the movie War Games kind of sparked their thought. Is so we're calling a machine. So this is a location we need to find. So we need to
I
go
forgot
find
that movie reference was
Yeah.
even in this, but
Yeah.
War Games is a great movie. But yeah, totally, yeah.
So we need to go find a hacker
Yep.
that can take this phone number and give us physical coordinates for the machine that we're calling, kind of thing. So they're make a plan to. They only know one hacker, and it's Susie.
Yep. Dustin's girlfriend from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yep.
So they make a plan to drive from California
Yeah,
all
there's
the way to
somewhere
Salt Lake City.
between Cali and Nevada at this point.
Yeah,
in the
there's
desert
somewhere in the high desert somewhere. I'm thinking Hesperia, somewhere. If you've ever traveled that highway between California and Nevada,
Yeah.
there's nothing out there. It's just empty. Death Valley is crazy huge, and then you just get to this giant just expanse of nothing for 4 hours before
Yeah.
you hit Vegas. So there's nothing out there.
Yeah, so their plans just head up to Salt Lake. They're to Salt Lake, Utah, to go visit Susie because she's the only hacker they know. They need
Yep.
to figure out where.
Yeah, where it's coming from,
Where
or
she
even,
is.
or even how to decipher the computer codes that they are getting. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where that goes. We don't actually see them go to Utah. They just make the plan to do so and then get on the way to do that thing.
Yeah. What other storylines do we have?
So we've got the crew in Hawkins now. So we got Dustin.
Right, everything's
and-
going on there.
Yep, Steve, Robin, and
So we're just
Nancy,
coming off of
Lucas,
Max not dying.
Yep,
Well, she just barely not died at the end of episode 4.
and is just permanently attached to that Sony Walkman and Kate Bush.
Yep. I love the interaction that we get in the morning with Ted Wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
He's low-key one of the best
What I
characters.
do?
It's from the first season, but it's still just yeah. I really enjoyed Ted Wheeler. We get his interaction with them with them in the morning, where Nancy and Dustin wake up, frantically trying to find Max because she wasn't down there with them, and she's upstairs with Holly, eating breakfast or whatever, coloring is what they were doing. They get upstairs and the mom's making pancakes, and Ted's just like, the mom makes the comment, it's so wonderful that all you guys are staying together because all the friends are hanging out or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
Ted makes the comment, something along the lines of, yeah, you wouldn't, it'd be nice if you would like congregate at somebody else's house or something like that. Basically being fed up with the fact like, yeah, it's great you're all here, but could you be somewhere else?
Yeah, like the Wheeler house is just a never-ending revolving door.
So
of
Mrs.
children
Wheeler is
coming
just
in and
like,
out.
no, you're welcome here anytime, talking to Dustin. And, motions to the breakfast. So he starts taking a couple of pancakes, and Ted just like, yeah, take us for all we're worth. And Dustin's like, okay, and just stacks like 6 pancakes on his plate. It was funny. I enjoyed that moment.
Yeah.
Ted,
Very
low-key,
relatable.
One of my favorite, one of the best characters in the
And
show.
again, another character that
I
they've
think.
developed over the last 2 seasons, where he really didn't have a lot going on, but over 3 and 4, he just started to get a little bit more
yeah,
lines.
a little bit
All
more
the
and
parents,
more.
really. Even like Dustin's mom, who was like in 1 episode, I think, 1 or 2.
Yeah, all the parents have gotten more screen time as the seasons have gone on, but
But we get to see Lucas's
never
parents,
an
too, at some point.
exorbitant amount.
Yeah.
Always just like
Little bits
a little
here
bit
and there.
more, but
Yeah.
enough where it's like, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
But everybody in this episode, let me see, I think the standout performances are probably 11.
Yeah, her and Matthew Modine in this particular episode, where we get to see her interact with his character, Brenner, again, for the first time since season 1.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. And we get a lot of really high energy, real thriller moments where Elle is not real sure what's going on. She tries to escape the bunker once she finds out that Matthew Modine's character, Dr. Brenner, is the one who's in charge of things. She gets tranked and wakes up in a memory from her time at Hawkins' lab, which she finds out is a sensory deprivation tank that is like laced with drugs and like a new style of like television interaction, so she can like relive her memories.
Yeah, something weird, whatever they're doing.
Which is called Nina. That's the program. It's called Nina. And then again, we get a lot more exposition. We get introduced to the character Henry, who is an older like intern character. We assume.
Yeah, he's like one of the. What's the right word for it?
He's like a nurse.
Because he
or
works with Brenner. He's one of the, not really nurses, but along those lines.
Yeah, he's like a caretaker for the children. Obviously,
There's a certain term that I is just spacing on right now, but yeah.
Yeah, he's the intern. Little weird, but clearly
He's clearly trying to help.
Yeah, clearly trying to help.
As much as anybody is trying to help in a facility where they've essentially kidnapped and brainwashed
Drugged
a
children.
dozen children and trying to
Yeah.
create psychic weapons out of them.
Yeah,
He's trying to help as
to
best
fight
he
the
can.
Russians. Yeah. So we really don't get too much beyond that. We get a montage of all the children. We get to see all of them, with the exception of the girl, the little Indian girl.
Yeah, I don't think
she's
8
missing.
is 8, right?
8 is missing.
I don't think 8 is there.
And we see 2 through 11, I think.
12?
I think there were some really little kids.
So I think there's another one after 11.
Yeah.
She's not the last. I think there's like 12 total.
But we get to see all of them. And
something like that.
The kids that are there, minus a few, most notably 1 and 8.
Yeah.
Which are the only 2 that are missing from the
sure.
sequence.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure will be more important later on. Obviously, we know what happens to 8. We don't know anything about 1. So we get them doing this training montage where they go through the act of trying to spin lights on this like carousel-looking thing for psychic abilities, essentially, and you're supposed to like rotate
basically,
the light, make it spin.
redirecting electrical currents, basically to light up.
Yeah,
You've
it's
seen
cool.
it,
Yeah, it's just it is what it is.
And all of them are basically able to do it except 11.
Yeah, she kind of is able to, but not really. Yeah. And there is also, I think she has a conversation with Henry in this episode about being able to find a memory to help her find her power.
I believe that's
After
right.
she fails with the lights. I think he talks to her, and we're not sure at this point if he's a projection or if he's really there, but I think he has a conversation with her about that because we don't see that come to fruition until 6.
I don't know if that happened in this episode then. Because that sequence...
I thought it did.
Because that sequence that happens with all of the kids getting tested with the lights and Elle failing is one of the last things that we see happen in the memories.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see
maybe
anything
that conversation
after
doesn't
that.
happen.
So that might happen early next episode, maybe?
Potentially. But that's pretty much it. I mean, really, that's all we get.
Yeah, I mean, Elle kind of freaks out, loses consciousness, and then gets revived, like real world.
Tries to run away, and then throws 2 guards into the wall in an outburst of psychic energy, which she then realizes that it is working and willingly agrees to continue. And we see her walk with Brenner, holding hands, as Papa and daughter, in a motif to the original season, as they go back to finish what they started.
Yeah.
And then we cut to probably the most intense part of the episode.
Yeah,
or is that the very end? Am I getting it out of sequence? Where...
So what you're talking about is like the actual very end.
Okay. So what happens with
all,
Eddie is the very
all of
end.
this kind of happens simultaneously with the episode kind of cutting back and forth. But the last bit, the big stuff that happens in the episode is we have Chrissy's funeral. After the funeral, Jason is still all, pissed off, as, understandable.
Yeah, and the murder gang is still out for blood.
Still don't like him, still think they're stupid.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he still wants to go find Eddie. So one of the, I think it might be Patrick that makes the suggestion, but one of the basketball team members makes the suggestion to go to Reefer Rick's place because some activity has been seen going on there when there wasn't supposed to be any or something. Information got out to go look for Eddie there because he's Eddie's supplier, so he probably knows him.
Yeah.
Good enough.
They do go there.
Yeah, so he goes there. They're searching the house. Eddie's like freaking out.
Eddie gets in the boathouse, and takes off across the lake.
Yep.
And for some stupid reason, they decide to chase him across the lake.
They're going to swim after him. He's rowing in a boat.
Yeah.
I would assume
Logic.
he should be able to row faster than they can swim.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you'd think that all he'd have to do is just kind of poke them with the oar once they get close. And they can't get
this
close
whole
enough.
sequence, the setup for what the payoff is going to be, was a little clunky in Eddie just keep rowing because at one point
he's obviously panicked.
They're getting close, so he stops rowing and tries to start the motor because he needs to go faster instead of just continuing to row. He never does it again.
Yeah,
he just lets them catch up to him basically.
Yeah. Bad motivations, but understandable.
That part was a little
he's obviously
clunky.
freaked out. They clearly want to kill him. He probably would have, and he's very scared. Obviously, he's supposed to be, he's 19 years old.
And he is pushing at him with the oar, trying to keep him out the boat and stuff.
And then he gets knocked into the water, and that's when Patrick has his episode with Vecna. He's had some previous episodes, but this is where Vecna comes for him.
Because we see it start at Chrissy's funeral.
Yes.
At Chrissy's funeral is when we see Patrick have, I think, his second vision, because he has his first one, I think, in the previous episode.
Yes, he does. Mm-hmm.
And this one we see him see the clock in a closet at Chrissy's funeral as well. So he's had a couple visions already.
Yep.
And Vecna comes after Patrick.
Kills Patrick, shoots him out of the water, murders him right in front of both Eddie and Hitler Youth. I can't remember. Jason. Murders him right in front of both of them, which you would think would clear Eddie, but Jason is stupid and doesn't get it.
Yeah, he's still hell bent on Eddie being he was there, so he must have done this kind of thing.
Yeah. So Eddie gets away.
The whole Jason thing gets a little forced by the end of this.
Yeah, Jason just freaked out. Obviously, lets him go. Eddie escapes.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think that's pretty much where it goes.
Yeah, it's pretty much all the major events that kind of happen.
Yeah, there's nothing else to it really.
And there wasn't anything. Was there any parts that stood out to you?
No.
As far as like I said, the most interesting,
except for Argyle and
best
trying
part,
to write names down on a pizza box.
That was great.
Argyle he steals every scene.
The editing might be the best part of this episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For the aforementioned reasons.
For congruent narratives that absolutely could have dragged horrendously, the editing saves it.
Yeah, because if you put all the stuff of one storyline together, I could see how this would get boring very quickly. So that's what editing is for, is to make things more interesting to watch.
Yes.
Especially when you're telling multiple storylines like this. So what would you rate the editing at? I think it's the strongest part of the episode.
give
I
it a
don't know
9.
how strong it is, though. I think it's a
I give it
9.
a 9. Yeah, I think the editing is really good.
Because
think
it
that
does so
paces
much for the
everything.
narrative and the
Yes.
pacing of the episode.
Yes.
I think that's probably fair because
Yeah.
it does do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yep.
Which isn't always a bad thing.
No.
That you have certain parts of an episode that are going to stand out more than others.
Correct.
That's just kind of how it works
How it
in
goes.
general.
It's just is
Like,
what it
it's
is.
not all going to be 10s all the time. I don't think we can much of anything at 10. But yeah, the editing, definitely 9. I could go there. Again, the acting was good.
It's Stranger
The
Things. It's
best
great.
part, like I said, I think the best kind of acting with people off of each other was the kids in Hawkins. Always, I guess we didn't cover. They just discover Max has her vision about the house,
Oh,
the broken
yeah.
piece of the house.
Honestly,
so she
that
does.
was a really boring
So she
sequence,
she
though.
creates all the drawings and stuff. Then Nancy's able to piece it all together. So they find like
Victor Creel's
Victor
house.
Creel's murder house that happened back 30 years ago.
Yeah, they go there and they just get like some more of like the classic
they
lights.
just search around.
The psychic lights though make a comeback from
Yeah.
season 1, and that is kind of they just all get to the attic and they're all their flashlights light up simultaneously at the same time that
Patrick
gets killed.
Yeah.
And so there is some connection there, but they won't elaborate on that further until I think episode 7 or 8.
Yeah. It's a minute till we get back to that point.
Yeah.
In a big way.
That's
anyway.
basically it, though. It's kind of a boring.
But the acting, I'd probably
sequence.
give like a 7.
Yeah, I think Eddie does a really good job. I don't think Jason and Patrick do, but I think that they do a good job
They do
at
a good
being
job.
crazy.
I just don't like their characters.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And
but the
there's-
scene is very well
It's hard
acted.
to like the acting. It's hard to judge acting in some perspectives just because like we know things are going to get better, and generally when you see really good acting, it's primarily displayed through really well acted emotional scenes. Like that's what draws your attention the most when we're talking about like acting in general.
My favorite was still Murray and his karate, and his just his frantic explanation to Joyce that he could actually beat Yuri because he won against the 16-year-old
and his
kid.
reasoning through everything, and
like, "I can
afterwards
do
he's
this."
like, "Thanks for talking it through with me, Joyce. I feel a lot more confident
Yeah, I
now."
feel a lot more confident about it.
And she just looks horrified, like we're all going to die.
Yeah.
This is not going to go well.
Great, it's really good.
But yeah, the writing as a whole,
I give it writing an 8 for sure.
you think an 8?
Yeah, I think so. I think it seems like it's less just because it's less
That's
intense.
fair. It seems like it's less just because there's not a whole lot happening. At the same time, I don't know. On one hand, I want to, give it a little less because nothing happens. On another hand, I want to maybe give it a little more because it all makes sense. It all
Yeah.
ties together. It's
Correct.
actually a cohesive story.
Yep.
Which is kind of the benchmark for storytelling in general.
Yep.
And one might say, well, if that's the benchmark, then how can that be the higher rating? Well, because you can't get better than everything making sense.
Yeah.
That's
That is
how much
the
nonsense
goal.
do you force into it for the sake of something cool that balances it out? All of this, it all tracks and makes
Yeah,
sense.
it was like a comment you made
So I
actually
could go
about
8. That's fine.
I can't remember what movie we saw, but you were like, what would make it cooler? It made sense. And that to me is kind
I don't
of
remember what we were talking about.
I don't remember
but
either.
yeah. The cinematography, all the death scenes are cool.
they are
All the
really
stuff
well
with the
filmed.
with the L's memories, with the Nina project and all that is cool. All the sound design that works with it is just creepy enough at certain points because it's Stranger Things.
And it
Stranger
puts you
Things
on
is just
edge.
really good at this stuff at this point. They've been good from out the gate, but
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just really good at this point. They know exactly what they're doing. It's very rarely they miss on anything.
Yep.
And yeah, there's certainly no misses anywhere in this episode. At the very worst, things are like a 7 where it's just like, it's good. Like, writing-wise, again, the stuff in Russia is kind of where things are just lagging behind the most and the least interesting part of the story at this point.
Yeah.
At least for me. But on the same token, there wasn't anything that was exceptionally, I don't know, striking about the cinematography
Not really.
that I recall. But it was good. Again, for me, anything over 5 is good because 5 is just meh. So I think 7 is a fair rating
Yeah.
for something that's it's good. Maybe
Alright.
it doesn't stand out. There's not anything amazing about it, but it's good.
So what do we-
It's not bad.
So what are we on for the next category then?
Score and soundtrack, which we already touched on a little bit.
Creepy in the right places,
Yeah.
adventurous
No-
when it needs to be,
No music.
suspenseful.
There's no big musical spots in
we
this
don't get
episode.
we don't get what we did in the previous episode where we just saw like the most amazing rendition of Kate
Which is
Bush
fine.
running up that hill. Set to it was a remix for the sequence with Max, which is just absolutely one of the best usages. My goodness,
Or uses?
Yeah, or uses of a soundtrack mixed with an original score in a television show. Like it's better than some movies, and that's saying something. So we don't get that though in this episode, but it doesn't need it. It's just we kind of get Kate Bush like playing in the background. We kind of hear it through her headphones.
Yeah, because she's got it on repeat through her Walkman, so it's there. Other than that, the score is just it's creepy and suspenseful when it needs to be. It's epic when it needs to be. It's emotional when it needs to be.
I'll give it an 8.
As emotional as it can be. An 8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, 8.
I can go 8 with you.
There's just not a lot that happens that we can be too much like attached to, except for when Patrick dies, which the music does hit high notes there.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to touch. Our next category is visual effects, and one thing that's kind of bothered me, which takes me out of it every time. Every time somebody dies, the CGI is not great.
I was just about to say that when you see
Like,
them
in the
suspended
moment when
with their
you
mouth
watch
open,
it, like
they look really fake, really fake.
yeah, to the point where it's kind of, again, maybe it's just because on a rewatch. Well, no, not even on a rewatch. On the first time I saw this episode, because this is the third person we see this happen to.
Yep.
So you're getting a little more used to
It's the
seeing it
same
happen.
animation,
It's not only the same animation, which I don't mind,
but they don't like.
but the character models
Yeah.
that are animated just don't look as good as maybe they should. I don't know. But at this point, something about them is just kind of
I think.
pulling me out of it a little bit.
Yeah, I think
It's a little too obviously
Victor Creel's
CG.
wife dying was probably the worst example of that. Like hers looked the fakest.
Agreed.
Fred's looked not
Chrissy's
as
was maybe
bad.
the best, but maybe just 'cause it was the first one?
I was going to say that Chrissy's was absolutely by far they put the most energy into making that one look the best.
And maybe just because it was the first one. I don't know
Man,
why.
I don't know.
But
It just looked better.
For whatever reason, like they're just becoming a little less believable from a visual effects standpoint.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, it's like it's becoming too obviously CG. Obviously, we
There's-
knew it was CG to begin with, but it's like it's almost distracting at this point.
Sell it to me better.
But it's only like that one spot.
Yeah.
Like only that one spot where it's like it's
Little rough.
just taking me out of it just a little bit. The
Yeah.
rest of it, the rest of the CG they do throughout
I
this
give it
episode.
I give it like a solid 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a 7's fair. Because
Okay. Yeah.
you're
and
right.
it's not actively bad.
No.
It's just clearly CG. It's
Right.
noticeable. Which I guess the goal of CG is to be unnoticeable, but not always the case because there's plenty of things in film where it's so obviously CG, but it's still really good.
Yeah, you don't care.
There's nothing
'cause
wrong with that, but I just basing off of where we've come from in previous episodes, it feels a little
the Vecna hellscape,
inconsistent.
the Vecna hellscape specifically that I'm thinking of in the previous episode was, for sure, the CGI was very on point with that sequence.
Yeah,
It
for
was
the
really
his,
good.
his whole little like
Really good.
pocket dimension.
Yeah.
He creates in people's minds. And
Looks
he
like
kills them.
Oblivion, actually. For those of
A
you who
little
are familiar
bit.
with Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, it does. Set deck costume and wardrobe.
Good.
Inconsistent all the way through.
What do we usually
There's
rate
nothing
it?
that
'Cause
really
that's-
stands out. It's normally
no.
like a 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is for this one too. There's just nothing that changes. It's good.
Yeah, I think later on we might get some good costume change-ups or wardrobe change-ups that where it just like hits a little different. But for now, like everything's been kind of even keel
Yep.
and consistent for a lot of it. So I think it's easy 7 where it's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yep, we're at a 7.
All right, audio mixing and sound design. Let's get into that.
Epic.
Epic.
Yeah, I mean, for as epic as this episode can be, when I think of each individual episode, it's hard for me to kind of parse them out from the greater whole.
It is difficult.
I will say though that just because these episodes just run together so seamlessly, and there's no glaring changes in any of the mechanics of how they're made, that they're good. They're really, really, really good. Yeah, I liked it. I think it was like a
trying to
solid
think.
7.5.
Okay, but you and your halves.
I know, I know.
Fine.
But honestly, there's just nothing much else to talk about. It's just good.
Yeah, okay. 7.5 on there. Directing. I believe this episode was directed by the Duffer Brothers, if I remember correctly. It's either them or Sean Levy, one of the two.
Excellent usage of editing to rescue what would otherwise be a very boring plot.
Yeah, which I guess you have to give credit in some respects to the filmmakers to at least know how they want to put the story together as a whole.
Yeah.
Whether that's the big picture or smaller segments that we're getting episodically.
Right.
So yeah, my gut reaction is to go 7 again, just because it's a very middle of the road episode, but nothing fantastic happens.
It's very, very par for the course filming, very par for the course camera angles, very par for the course dialogue. Everything works. It's all exactly what you expect. You're not going to be disappointed in any way. It's very good, but it is a filler episode, which doesn't detract from it. It's what it is. Directing does not deter from that, and I'm not going to deter a point from it because it's a filler episode. It's just a filler episode that happens to be good. It's just a 7.
Yeah. And our last episode is just overall enjoyment. Well,
shoot.
Yeah, it's tough because I've seen it.
I want to give it a 9 just because I love it, but also it's
an 8 for me.
It's a more boring episode, so I would say that I was more anxious to get to the next episode. And for that alone, I'll give it an 8 because it just didn't hold my interest enough.
I really enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of watching it through the first time because I went through and watched all of them the first time.
My favorite part was Joyce and Murray in the plane. Like that will always be my favorite part.
It was pretty great.
And it just kind of slowly went down from there for me. But then like Argyle arguing with Jonathan and kind of having a panic attack and then being.
But I love this stuff with the group happening in Hawkins, with the friends, their whole interplay, especially at the house before they leave.
And there's a lot of things we're not talking about, but I mean,
we don't need to cover everything.
Lucas and Steve talking back and forth, Dustin and Steve talking back and forth. He's basically the babysitter. It's still good. I mean, Ted Wheeler.
Yeah, but they're all together now, so.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's an 8 for me.
So what does that bring our final total to?
Let me do some math. 75.5.
All right, 75.5. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for a slower paced, a little more like we said, filler or second act type episode.
Hard to follow the energy of the previous one.
It is, but again, because I think they released them all at once and they're counting on people binging it, you need kind of release section.
Roller coasters can't all be free falls. You have to have a slow climb back up the hill if you want another epic dive.
Exactly.
Is how it is. I think that's going to bring this episode to an end. If you guys enjoyed the content, leave us a like and a subscribe. And if you feel so inclined, comment below and let us know what your favorite part of this episode was. If you didn't like the episode, thanks for sticking around anyway. And you can share this video with your friends and family, those who you think will enjoy it. We'd really appreciate it. Jeremiah?
And let us know if you enjoy us rating at the beginning or at the end.
Yeah.
Which format you prefer the best. And if you are listening to us over on Spotify, if you will leave us a rating and follow us over there, that'll help out a lot as well. And we will see you next time.
Later.